Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, this man is facing charges of abandoning or endangering a child. His total bond next. And a mother in Houston stands accused of leaving her children behind while she went on a cruise. And a Texas State professor receives a grant aiming to investigate mercury exposure in Matagorda Bay.
And good afternoon, everyone. After a spectacular weekend, all of a sudden the clouds are going to be hanging tough. Now you'd think, oh, with clouds, no sun, should be cooler, right? Nope, it's going to get warmer. We'll be in the upper 80s for most of the week, and we'll talk about that coming up in a moment.
And day one of the Class 4A regional golf tournament, some athletes from the Crossroads performed pretty well. I'll have that in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. Karina Garcia is off tonight. A 34-year-old suspect is accused of 6 charges. Jesus Rangel of Victoria faces 5 charges of abandoning or endangering a child with reckless neglect. One charge of DWI with a child under 15 years old. Rangel is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $35,000 bond. Victoria County deputies arrested a suspect from Victoria Friday. 49-year-old James Howard faces 4 charges. 3 of them are obstruction or retaliation. He is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $75,500 bond. And now let's take a first look at your forecast. Here's First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. And Mac, we had a great weekend for the bicentennial, and it's continued today.
Yeah, well, the weekend certainly was spectacular. Hope you enjoyed that. This evening, things are getting complicated for the folks up in North Texas. You see this? That's another one of those storms rolling out of the Rockies, producing heavy weather. As a matter of fact, already we have the tornado watch in this red area up for much of North Texas. This is all north of I-20, as you see right about there. So is that coming toward us? The answer is probably not. What the next one might be, and we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Back to you, Don.
Mac, thank you. A Houston mother is accused of leaving her 2 young children home alone while she went on a cruise.
Lakeisha Williams.
Williams is accused of leaving her 6-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son home alone at their luxury high-rise in the Memorial City area while she flew to Florida and boarded a cruise to Puerto Rico.
Both juveniles told officers that they had been left alone since April 4th.
The young children were said to be left alone to fend for themselves for at least 5 days and told deputies they didn't know when their mother was coming home. The Precinct 5 Constable's office responded to Williams' apartment for a welfare check on Tuesday and noted that the apartment was in a state of disarray. They say it smelled like urine and said it was obvious the children had tried to make themselves meals. Court records say police found a phone and a camera that she was using to communicate with the children while she was gone. When deputies tried to contact Williams, they say she was not cooperative and changed her story about where she was. She was arrested Thursday evening.
A 42-year-old man is now facing multiple charges after a deadly semi-truck crash last week. DPS announced aggravated assault charges with a deadly weapon against Clenard Parker. They say he was the driver of a stolen 18-wheeler that crashed into a Brenham DPS driver's license building on Friday. A 78-year-old man was killed while 13 other people were injured. 2 of the victims are still hospitalized. Officials say Parker was denied his commercial driver's license the day before the crash and was fleeing police at the time of the crash. A shooting in a high school classroom prompted a student walkout in Dallas today. Students at Wilmer Hutchins High School walked out in protest. They said they are concerned about safety in the school. On Friday, a student was able to get a gun past metal detectors and shoot another student in the leg. The student with the gun was arrested just outside of the school. Students are asking for more help in keeping them safe. The district is investigating how that gun got past security. A Houston judge heard arguments today in rap star Travis Scott's request to be dismissed from a lawsuit over the deadly 2021 Astroworld Festival in Houston. 10 people were killed as authorities and festival organizers responded to a massive crowd surge and tried to shut down the show. Attorneys for Scott write in the motion to dismiss that he is a performer and had no role in providing security or crowd management for the festival. After an investigation by Houston police, no charges were filed against Scott. Well, for most Americans, time is running out to file your tax return with the IRS if you still owe income tax for last year. The good news is you still have options before being penalized for failing to file.
Tax day is here, and if you haven't filed yet, you're not alone. But experts say if you haven't started, you may actually want to wait.
Haste makes waste. And when we rush to do things, that's when mistakes can happen. Mistakes will either cost you refunds, tax dollars, or may cause you problems from the IRS later.
Tom O'Sabin with the National Association of Tax Professionals recommends filing a 6-month extension by midnight to give you and your tax preparer the opportunity to prepare it correctly. But in order to avoid mounting penalties, O'Sabin advises it's best to send a payment to the IRS before the deadline that best approximates what you think is due. Taking a look at last year's tax return could help.
If you owe money and you don't have that postmark today, the IRS is going to charge you interest and, failure to pay penalties that are going to start assessing tomorrow.
If you're afraid you can't pay, O'Sabin says filing is still critical.
The IRS wants to work with you to get your tax obligation satisfied. And in doing that, the first thing they've got to have is the tax return.
And for those late filers who are due a refund, there are no penalties for missing the deadline and possibly some benefits.
You can wait up to 3 years after the original due date to file your return. And not only will the IRS give you your refund, they'll pay you interest on that refund.
But make sure you file before the 3 years is up. Otherwise, you forfeit your refund. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
As the deadline approaches, some procrastinating taxpayers are dealing with a tech glitch. H&R Block issued a statement Monday saying some what they call desktop software users had problems filing their tax returns. The software, which is available on the company's website, is separate from online tax filing. Tax filers will not face any charges or penalties if their mailed copy has an April 15th postmark. Others can apply for an extension, which, if approved, gives them more time to get their paperwork settled. A research initiative is underway in Matagorda Bay that investigates mercury exposure through seafood consumption. Dr. Jessica Dutton, a professor in the Department of Biology at Texas State University, secured a $474,900 grant from the Matagorda Bay Mitigation Trust to dive into the issue of mercury exposure. Their efforts will specifically focus on the Alcoa Point Comfort Lavaca Bay Mercury Superfund site. This 3-year award will allow Dutton to investigate people's exposure to mercury through seafood consumption using hair analysis and surveys focusing on demographic factors. The Food Bank of the Golden Crescent is a lifeline to people in our area who are dealing with food insecurity. Robin Cadle, CEO of the Food Bank, says continued donations along with a team of volunteers all help keep the food bank going strong.
Even though it's a Feeding America campaign, anytime you see something that's Feeding America, they will divvy up the funds that come in that community to the local food bank. So always consider donating through Feeding America.
Cadle says last year the Fight Hunger Spark Change event raised over $10,000 for the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent. You can donate at any Walmart or Sam's Club locations. A Victoria County road will be closed Saturday morning. Fordyce Road at Fox Road and Timber Drive will be closed from 6 to 9 a.m. Saturday. The closure is due to an event for Restoration House Ministries. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. Stay with us in San Francisco. A massive demonstration shuts down the Golden Gate Bridge. That's coming up on 25 News now at 6. Also ahead, Maryland is moving forward with their bird flu preventive plans. pregnancy complications could be linked to an even increased risk of early death even decades after a woman gives birth. A study in the journal JAMA Internal showed data of over 2 million women who gave birth between 1973 and 2015. They found major pregnancy complications led to an increased risk of early death for more than 40 years after the women gave birth. The study's author says pregnancy complications can lead to small changes over time that end up causing health problems. Pro-Palestinian protesters snarled traffic in California's Bay Area Monday morning. They completely blocked southbound lanes on the Golden Gate Bridge. The protesters chained themselves through tubes to other people inside cars. Officers called in tow trucks to remove vehicles protesters were using. Police arrested more than a dozen people and began reopening lanes after the hours-long closure. Protesters also chained themselves to concrete-filled barriers on Interstate 880 in Oakland. The armorer in the fatal Rust movie shooting now sentenced to 18 months in prison. Today, a New Mexico judge announced the sentencing against movie armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed. They say if it was not for the armorer's recklessness, Halyna Hutchins would be alive. The armorer's 2-week trial and conviction was a prelude to the proceedings against Alec Baldwin, who has pleaded not guilty to a charge of involuntary manslaughter in the death of Halyna Hutchins. He is scheduled for trial in July. Here's your viewer poll this evening. Do you support Hannah Gutierrez Reed's 18-month prison sentence in the Rust movie shooting? Yes or no? It's been really tight voting on this really all afternoon long. 52% say no. 47, look at it change right now. 53% say no. 47% of our voters say yes. We thank you for voting and we want to hear your opinion. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we will have an update on 25 News Now at 10. Government data shows Americans are saving less these days. The personal saving rate fell to 3.6% in February. That's the lowest level in more than a year. There could be several factors. It could just be a continuation of a long-term trend. Historically, Americans tend to save less after a recession. Pandemic-related stimulus plus a lack of spending during shutdowns caused savings to build up during the pandemic. The strong job market also gave people more money to spend. Maryland is taking steps to prevent bird flu from spreading to dairy cows. That's after an outbreak of avian flu was detected in 7 states, including Texas.
They won't be able to sell their milk. They won't have as much milk to sell. So that's the main issue facing farmers right now.
The Maryland Department of Agriculture says wild birds have been carrying this for years and likely introduced bird flu to herds now infecting cattle in 7 states. Maryland is now requiring additional testing for cows imported into the state.
If you've got wild bird flyways going through your state, which we do, you're susceptible to outbreaks of avian influenza.
If a cow contracts bird flu, they become lethargic and their milk production decreases. Typically, cows can get healthy after a week of rest and recovery.
The main thing that farmers can do is the prevention, practicing good biosecurity. We can keep a good eye on the cattle.
Humans contracting bird flu is very rare, but one case was reported in Texas, according to the CDC. Right now, there's no consumer risk because milk is pasteurized before hitting store shelves, and farmers are required to only distribute milk from healthy cows.
As long as you're drinking pasteurized milk and cooking your beef to the correct cooking temperatures, then the avian flu will be killed in that process and it'll not get any humans sick.
Broom Bloom Dairy says the restrictions will help keep the dairy farm safe statewide and keep the multi-million-dollar industry operating.
All of your milk you buy from grocery store is local, so it's coming from our dairy farmers around us, and I think they're kind of more of the backbone of this community than I think a lot of people realize.
The Washington Post reports Tesla will slash 10% of its workforce. Tesla CEO Elon Musk notified employees on Monday, citing a need to reduce costs and increase productivity. This comes during a lower demand for electric vehicles. Austin-based Tesla reported a sharp drop in vehicle deliveries in the first quarter, and its stock has lost a third of its value this year. As of December, the company employed 140,000 people. Good weather for driving a Tesla today, Mac, or any vehicle.
Yeah, sunroof even would be good as well. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We had a terrific weekend. Now all of a sudden the clouds don't want to part. We're going to stay on the overcast side. Our current temperature is 77, but we did manage to get up into the 80s. Of course, the winds have been rather breezy, up to 25 miles an hour, maybe even stronger. 83 was our official high. We're actually going to push that up into the mid 80s over the next couple of days. Any rain in sight? We'll talk about that coming up. Well, good afternoon, everybody. You know, you don't look a day over 200. You know, congratulations to Victoria. Made it to 200 years. How about that? Can you imagine getting around this area 200 years ago? I mean, no highways, no freeways. How do you find your way where you're going? Yeah, you go to the tree and you turn to the left. Anyway, tonight we're looking at some serious weather breaking out in far north Texas. We're going to stay on this cloudy, overcast side. It's all caused by this storm. It's another one of those Colorado storms that's coming into the plains, but ahead of it, we're getting the severe weather. As a matter of fact, all this in red is actually a red flag warning for high fire danger, but ahead of this right here in orange, that is actually a tornado watch. And there's one big hungry storm rolling around over there just north of the I-20 corridor, headed on up to, well, almost halfway to the Wichita Falls area. We're going to zoom in on it. Right there, there's I-20, there's Abilene. You can see it right about here, big storm, really tall, very tall storm. Radar is indicating 2-inch hail. I don't know if it's hitting the ground, but the radar is giving us that signature, so we're certainly watching it. Now, it's fairly quiet in Dallas right now, and this looks like it's headed for Oklahoma, so it may not be a Dallas issue by tonight. Now, here's your forecast high tomorrow, 83 for us, 85 in Houston, 88 out in San Antonio, and we're looking at 90s along the coast. Now, here's where this activity is going. Watch how it goes almost due the northeast. So it's basically going to, I think, skirt around the Metroplex. On the tail end of it, you see a couple of little leftovers tomorrow. What we have here is the dry line, okay? On this side, it's cloudy, it's humid. On that side, it's dry and sunny. Well, that is also the place where a lot of our storms fire during the summer months. It's basically a boundary the dividing line between the two air masses, and that's where the storms get. Now here you see the tail end of that sort of getting close to the I-10 corridor, but I really don't think we're going to see much of that. We'll stay on the overcast side most of the week. And even though we're still getting up into the 80s, that's because pressure is beginning to rise over us. Here's tonight, there's that little front producing the big stuff up north. That one's going to slide north of our area, so it's really not coming toward us. It's going to stall somewhere around Austin, and then that's pretty much gone. And then behind it, you see right about there, that system may have a lot more to do with our weather as we get into the weekend, because we're talking Friday there, Saturday it's in the plains, and there's a front, and that one will bring a line of showers possibly down as far south as our area. So that would be over the weekend. For tonight, now, no major problems. We're going to stay on the overcast side, pretty much cloudy all day long with rather gusty southeasterly winds getting up to about 82, 83 tomorrow, and then cloudy in Cuero getting up to about 82 as well. You'll notice right about here we'll start pushing into the mid upper 80s right there by Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday is when that front comes in. You'll notice that our temperatures do drop a little bit Sunday, Monday. Nothing substantial, but the showers, these will be isolated, very widely scattered. This will be a better shot, which is Saturday, in case you're planning for the upcoming weekend. That is your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Mr. Don.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. And Mr. Zach has your sports. I'm liking more of the Astros the last couple of days. Okay?
Mr. Don, that's absolutely right. It's Spaghetti Day in Houston. The former general and hometown kid making his first start at Minute Maid, looking for his first Major League win. I'll have that in sports. Over at the Club of Colony Creek, day one of the boys 4A Regional Golf Championship, and we have some pretty good athletes from the Crossroads. James Dorotic, who just got done throwing a no-hitter for the El Campo Rice Birds, finishes round one tied at 13, shooting a 76 on the day. Next on the list, his fellow Rice Bird, Trace Matthews, who is tied for 31st, shooting an 83. We also have Josiah Campos out of Calhoun, who will try to gain ground tomorrow. He is 35th. He shot an 83. And then we have Cuero's Tyler Grogan, who is tied at number 43, shooting an 84 in the first round. The Houston Astros back in action tonight, trying to keep the small two-game winning streak going, and they're going to welcome the Braves to town when former Victoria General Spencer Arrighetti gets his second career start, looking for his first career win. It will be his first start in Minute Maid Park. His last time out, he had a solid first two innings before getting torched in the third. And today at the ballpark, Major League Baseball celebrates Jackie Robinson Day. Everyone will wear 42 to honor him. He made his Major League debut on this date in 1947. Then in 1997, MLB retired his jersey across all Major League teams. And Don actually told me about this little known fact about the man who broke the color barrier. He was actually the athletic director at Sam Houston, which is located in Austin. That college is now known as Houston Tillotson, which is a Red River Athletic Conference school. And speaking of Red River Athletic Conference, UHV pitcher Julian Garcia has been named Pitcher of the Week. This is the second week in a row a Jag has gotten a Player of the Week honor, and Garcia's last time out helped the Jags get to 30 wins on the season, that for the first time since 2011, and we hope to hear from him at some point this week. Now, later on this week, we have a massive showdown. It's going to be this Thursday here at the Youth Sports Complex. The Victoria East Lady Titans taking on Gregory Portland. This is for the North Zone Championship. Winner takes first in the zone, guaranteeing themselves a spot in the postseason. And we have a really big one tonight. The Victoria West boys have a huge zone crossover game against the Miller Buccaneers. The Warriors very much alive, but just on the outside looking in for a postseason spot. That game began about a half hour ago and still in the second inning. Victoria West 8, Miller 0. All right, and the 128th edition of the Boston Marathon took place today. Thousands lined up to see runners from all over the world. Sissy Lima on the men's pro race, running the 26-plus mile course in just 2 hours, 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Helen Obiri won the women's pro race, running that in 2 hours, 22 minutes and 37 seconds. Before the race began, they honored the victims of the 2013 bombing with a bell ringing and a wreath laying. That is it for your sports. Don, back to you.
Thank you, Zach, and we're back in a moment. The track for the Summer Olympics in Paris has an unusual color. Yes, gold medalists there will start their purple reign.
This is breaking news from 25 News Now.
Breaking news tonight from Baltimore. Authorities have confirmed the body of a fourth victim has been recovered from the deadly Baltimore Bridge collapse that killed 6 people. Officials have not released the victim's identity at the request of the family. Once again, authorities confirmed the body of a fourth victim had been recovered from the deadly Baltimore Bridge collapse. More coming up on our website, crossroadstoday.com. Finally tonight, Paris 2024 organizers say the track, which is purple, currently being laid in Paris's Stade de France for the upcoming Summer Olympics, does not guarantee new track and field records, but adjustments brought in by the manufacturer seem promising. The track is purple to match the graphic chart of the Paris 2024 Olympics. The track, involving the manual layering more than 1,000 rolls of material and 2,800 paste jars, should be completed by June 1st. Well, it looks like they're on track to finish the track.
Yeah, okay, Don. That's just another one.
It's Monday, too. It's Monday. Pace myself, Don. Pace myself.
So there's Olympics this year.
Yes, in July. Yes.
I'm not ready. I didn't know.
Yes, it's Olympic-style weather out there tonight, I'm telling you.
I think it was over the weekend. Today,
well, that one too, yes.
Today's kind of minor league. I don't know. The clouds sort of hung out all day long, and we're going to stay on the overcast side of things, but we will have warm weather. We're looking for temperatures to actually push up into the upper 80s by the time we get to Thursday and Friday of this week. Chance of rain does come in on Saturday with a weak cold front.
Thank you, Mac, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you tonight for 25 News Now at 10. Have a good one, everybody.